Hello and welcome to another episode with the Toronto Dog Whisperer. Today I'm going to be taking you through the strategy that I use when I am dealing with a dog that has fear and anxiety issues. I know this is a really hot topic. There's a lot of people out there that are struggling with this. So this video is just the strategy. I'm not going to be demonstrating in this video. I'm just going to be talking about the strategy that you can take to get the ball rolling. And in another video, I'm going to be actually showing you some of those techniques with this guy, Jax, here. So fear and anxiety is a very complicated issue. It's not easy to address. In fact, it's the most difficult type of case that I work with. Give me an aggressive dog any day. The problem is what causes the fear and anxiety, and it's not always obvious what's causing it. There could be many reasons why a dog is fearful or anxious, but the point is you need to understand the difference between a symptom and a problem. What is the difference between a symptom and a problem? This is where there's a bit of controversy. It's kind of subjective. There's a lot of different opinions out there, but I'm going to give you my opinion. So if you disagree, that's fine. A symptom is the result of a problem. The biggest difference between a symptom and a problem is that the symptoms can be common to many problems, whereas the problems themselves are unique. So if we take, for example, barking as a symptom, barking can be caused by a lot of different things, such as fear and anxiety, but it could be that barking is just a symptom of overexcitement. There's a number of different symptoms that dogs can display when they're feeling fearful, anxious, or nervous. I'm not going to get into a lot of detail about this because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Because the focus of this video is on what to do to make things better. So some of the symptoms include barking, whining, cowering, running away from something, just strictly avoiding something. There's a lot of different ways that dogs can express symptoms of fear and anxiety. In Jack's case, his cackles went up, he got dog aggressive, he would get very protective, he would lower his head. In certain situations, he would move away. If the owner got the vacuum out, he would pretty much just take off. So what causes fear and anxiety? Well, there's a lot of different opinions out there. Again, this is a very subjective topic. If you don't agree with me, that's okay. But I'm going to give you the reasons that I see and that I've observed over many, many years and many, many dogs. So the most common causes include minor trauma. And that could be physical or emotional trauma and how a human reacts to that trauma. So what do I mean by minor trauma? Well, a dog could get into a fight or be attacked maybe by another dog. They could get startled by something falling or a thunderstorm or fireworks or something like that. That's what I describe as minor trauma. Now, what makes that minor trauma manifest itself into a fear and anxiety issue is how the people react. And this is probably the most common because a dog will experience some sort of minor trauma, and the most common response from people is that they'll comfort them and they will give them affection when they're in that fearful state of mind. And that is the number one thing that I see that then develops into a more serious problem over time. One of the things that you have to understand about this type of issue is it usually starts off fairly minor and then it continues to get worse and worse over time. And if people don't catch it early enough, then it develops into a serious problem later on. Another common cause of fear and anxiety in dogs that's extremely common is the lack of consistent leadership from the owners. And again, very controversial subject. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but I see it all the time. And this is one of those cases where anxiety is the fear of the unknown. And if dogs are put into the leadership position, you're putting them under tremendous amounts of stress and they become anxious. They start to worry about what's going to happen, what situations am I going to have to deal with. So as a dog in the leadership position, if they're way out in front of you, they're experiencing everything first. So let's say you're walking down the street and your dog is, 5 feet in front of you. If they come across a raccoon, another dog, a person, anything that represents potential risk, they will experience that first. Therefore, there's stress on them in terms of, what am I going to do? Is this a threat? Am I going to have to get into a fight? And that kind of anxiety festers and gets worse over time. Another common cause of fear and anxiety in dogs is fearful and anxious people. And I'm not trying to point fingers here, but basically the way I look at things is a dog is a mirror for the person that they're with. So if you're an anxious person, if you're nervous in certain situations that make you feel uncomfortable, you're going to transmit that and then influence your dog to then become fearful and anxious as well. So people can influence their dogs in a negative way, but the good news is they can influence them in a positive way. It's not that big of a deal to overcome if you put the time and energy into it. So a couple less common causes for fear and anxiety in a dog are abuse and isolation. They're a lot less common these days, especially in Canada and in the US, but for the most part, I don't see it very often, but in Kenzie's case, Kenzie was an abused dog, therefore her fear and anxiety issues are much, much more serious. And it's taken me years to get her to this point, and the issue still isn't 100% gone. So the strategy that I take is all about understanding that fear and anxiety is a very large problem. And what we want to do is break it down into very small components and then start to work on each individual component that is comprising the bigger issue. And then slowly but surely you help your dog to overcome those problems. So my strategy begins with taking notes. So you want to make sure you understand, what is the situation, what's happening leading up to that point, what is triggering the behavior. So it could be a sound, it could be a person, it could be another dog. There's a number of triggers for fear and anxiety, so you want to make note of that. The description of the behavior itself, so a bark, a growl, a whine. In this guy's case, his cackles come up and he actually releases a lot of dander. So it's unique to every single dog. No two dogs are exactly alike, although some of the problems are common to a lot of dogs with fear and anxiety. Another thing that you want to take a note is how you're feeling. So when I put this strategy together, it's kind of comprised of two main parts. The first part is focused on your dog, and the second part is focused on the people. So the people being everybody in the household that your dog lives with. But primarily the people that are around when the behavior is happening. It's a lot more difficult to explain. So when you're taking notes, take note of the situation, what was happening, where you are, what happened leading up to your dog exhibiting fear or anxiety, a description of the behavior itself. So how did they express their fear and anxiety? How you were feeling before, during, and after your dog experiencing fear and anxiety. So there's two main aspects that I focus on when it comes to helping a dog through fear and anxiety. The first is the dog, the second is the people. It's a two-sided coin. You can't resolve a dog's fear and anxiety issues if you aren't looking at the influence and behavior of the people as well as the dog. So the two are very much intertwined. And it's really important to be honest about your feelings. You know, whether you felt frustrated, anxious, nervous, whether you were projecting, oh, something bad is going to happen, the rest of it. Just be honest with yourself, and it's going to help understand what is happening with your dog. So taking these notes is going to help you to understand patterns of behavior, and it's going to help you break down your dog's fear and anxiety issues into smaller individual parts. Once you've spent some time taking notes and observing your behavior, your dog's behavior, how they exhibit their fear and anxiety, it's going to give you a clear understanding of what you need to address. You always want to start with the most serious and most powerful fear and anxiety triggers. So, for example, if your dog barks at a door, it's not as serious as if your dog exhibits aggression. You're going to want to address the most serious expressions of fear, nervousness, or anxiety in order of priority. The more serious the problem, the longer it's probably going to take you to resolve it. So the first part is all about observation and taking notes. Very meticulous notes on everything surrounding the fear and anxiety. The second part is building exercises to then address each of the individual triggers or situations where your dog exhibits fear and anxiety. So when you're building an exercise, you're basically recreating the circumstances where your dog exhibits fear and anxiety in a controlled way. So you're eliminating as many of the variables as possible, and you're starting to isolate different aspects of the behavior. And this is where your notes are really going to help you out. So for example, if your dog experiences fear and anxiety on a walk out in public, when they see another dog, you're going to want to recreate that scenario and practice it and start to help your dog through it. The basic technique when you're trying to help a dog with fear and anxiety is that you want to show them a different way of experiencing that situation. So if they pass a dog in public, you need to show them that there's nothing to fear, that there's nothing bad that's going to happen to them, and that they need to confront their fear to really understand that there's nothing to be afraid of. That's really the only way I found, and I've been working with dogs that have fear and anxiety problems for a very long time. It's the only way you're going to be able to really help them get past it. Building an exercise is the most difficult part of this strategy, and it's usually where people struggle the most, and this is where I come in because I have a lot of experience helping people to build exercises that will help them to overcome whatever anxiety and fear issues they have. It's just as much for the people as it is for the dog. So if you're struggling with this, this is where I recommend seeking external help from an expert who has not just the experience in setting up exercises, but also the resources. This is where you're going to need the most support from family, friends, neighbors, and the rest of it. I'm going to give you an example. So how would I set up an exercise when it comes to a dog that exhibits fear when they see another dog out in public? Well, Basically, it's a volume thing. So you would set aside some time where you would pass by as many dogs in public as possible in a controlled fashion, preferably with somebody who's going to provide you with some support and coaching in terms of what to do and how to do it. If this is something that you would like more detail about, I can go and make a whole video about how to build an exercise and all the details involved in doing those things. So one of the things that you can do to help any dog that has fear and anxiety issues is provide consistent and calm leadership. Basically, your dog needs to understand that whatever the circumstance, whatever situation arises, whether it's a sound of a thunderstorm or another dog on the street, that you are going to handle that situation and that they do not need to make irrational decisions about what they should be afraid of and what they shouldn't be. So, one universal technique that will always help your dog overcome their fear and anxiety issues is providing consistent, calm leadership. So how does leadership help to alleviate fear and anxiety? Well, it's based on trust. A lot of people that I talk to that have dogs that have fear and anxiety issues don't trust their dog, and your dog picks up on that. And if you don't trust your dog, there's probably a good chance that your dog doesn't trust you. And if you're a calm leader, that's going to provide them with the reassurance that you're going to handle whatever situation and that there's no reason for them to be afraid. Providing strong leadership also alleviates stress. It provides guidance. It is the basic foundation for recovery. So basically, you're making all the decisions so they don't have to. And at the end of the day, it's you who are going to protect them, not them protecting you. So here's a few keys to success that will assist you in helping your dog overcome their fear and anxiety issues. Number one, having a lot of time. Dealing with a dog that has fear and anxiety issues isn't something that you can resolve overnight. It usually takes weeks, months, or in some cases, even years. Patience. Patience is really key to helping a dog with fear and anxiety issues. If you become frustrated, anxious, nervous, angry, any of those negative things, it's going to have the opposite effect and actually make the problem worse. Staying neutral. So if your dog exhibits fear, anxiety, nervousness, you just stay neutral. You don't have to be excited. You don't have to get angry with them. You don't have to feel sorry for them. You don't have to feel guilty. None of those feelings are going to help your dog. If you just stay neutral, it'll help calm your dog down and you can move on from there. Being self-aware. Being self-aware is really important because you have to acknowledge your responsibility in your dog's behavior. And being self-aware doesn't mean that you're blaming yourself. It's just understanding how you feel when your dog exhibits fear and anxiety issues or just in general. So being self-aware is really taking accountability for your influence over your dog. If you feel nervous and you feel anxious and you're distrustful of your own dog, that is going to influence their behavior. Consistency. Staying consistent will help take out the peaks and valleys in your dog's emotional state. If you want to start helping your dog right away, you can start by taking them out for consistent, structured walks at least 3 times a day. The walks are going to help in a number of different areas. If anybody has watched any of my videos, you're going to understand that almost every single video I mention the importance of the walk. It's so huge to your dog's mental and physical health. I mean, I could do a whole video just on how important a walk is. I think I've done it before. It's just massive. Just Take your dog for a structured walk. Structured walk allows your dog to relieve stress, experience the world, be exposed to a lot of different situations, a lot of different people, a lot of different dogs, and help build their confidence. Here are some more advanced techniques that you can use to help your dog to get over their fear and anxiety issues. And number one, walk your dogs with other well-balanced dogs. You can start by walking them next to other dogs with the person that they're with, and then start walking them together on the same side. Another advanced technique is really focusing on you. Focus on how stressed you are, or how anxious you are, and how you're feeling. Acknowledge how you feel. You don't have to feel bad that you're anxious, nervous, or stressed. You just have to acknowledge that you feel like that. Take a deep breath, use a visualization technique, whatever you need to do to say, okay, I'm really stressed out, I'm really anxious because there's another dog coming at me, or whatever the reason might be. I'm just going to take a deep breath and calm down. Okay guys, so here's some final thoughts that are going to help you address your dog's fear and anxiety issues. Number one, make sure you don't feel bad, guilty, or sorry for your dog. It won't help them to get better. Number two, make sure you're careful about when you give them affection. There's a number of different forms of affection, but if you are giving them affection or trying to comfort them when they're anxious or nervous, it's going to make it worse. Don't focus on the problem, focus on the solution. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter why your dog is fearful or anxious or nervous. All that matters is that you're going to help them. Focus on making things better. Don't focus on making it go away. If your dog is improving, that's a good sign. It doesn't matter how long it takes. As long as they're improving, you'll get there. Get the whole household involved. The concept of that's your dog and it's not my dog is not going to help your dog's issues in any shape or form. If you live with family, roommates, friends, even if it's your dog and it's not theirs, get them involved, have them come on walks with you, have them participate in some of the exercises that you set up. It's going to help. Seek support from your family, your friends, other dog owners, your neighbors, anybody who's willing to help you in the process is going to alleviate pressure and help make the whole process a lot easier. If you're struggling, seek help. You do not have to do it on your own. This is such a common problem for so many dogs that it's very easy to feel like you're the only one who has a dog who's fearful or anxious. So seek out help. That's why people call me, is they know that I am very experienced with dealing with these types of issues, and it provides them with the reassurance that this problem can be resolved. Be patient. I know I've said this before in this video already, but it's super huge. You need to be patient. It's going to take time. So you need to understand that if you're an impatient person, it's going to hinder your ability to help your dog. And if you're not a patient person, seek out help from somebody who is patient. Last but not least, if you avoid the problem, it will continue to get worse. But if you address it, it will get better. Okay guys, that's it for this video. I hope this helped. I know it was a really quick overview. There's not a lot of demonstration of the techniques that I described, but this is just a basic first step. It's a strategy to get the ball rolling. I'm going to be doing another video using Jax as an example. That's this beautiful dog right here. He has fear and anxiety issues, and I will be doing another video that is going to be demonstrating some of the techniques that I've described. So I'm going to be making another video demonstrating some of the techniques that I described, but the strategy is the same. I just wanted to share a quick note about this video. The most popular video I've ever done in terms of views is one of my earliest videos, which was on this specific topic. And the thing is, I didn't really know what I was doing, and it wasn't that focused or concise of a video, and I really wanted to do a second version. This is a very sensitive topic. A lot of people have different opinions on it, and the most important thing is to put the dogs first. Put in the time, put in the effort, and you'll get there. It'll get better. Obviously, I want to help as many people and dogs as possible. This is a very controversial subject. It's a very sensitive issue. It's not very pleasant for people who have dogs that have fear and anxiety issues. It's definitely not pleasant for the dogs. It's a lot of stress, and it's definitely something that affects them in a really negative way. Not just their mental health, but also their physical health and the longevity and quality of their life. The thing to understand about fear and anxiety, and this is the really, huge thing, is that your dogs don't enjoy it. It's just one of those things where they get stuck and they just don't know how to get past the things that are causing the fear and anxiety. So stick with it. It's definitely something that can be resolved, although it is difficult at first, and it takes a very patient and calm person to work through these things, but it's going to happen. The reality is you're going to have your dog for the rest of their lives, and hopefully that's going to be many, many years. So it's worth the time, it's worth the effort, it's worth the investment of resources to help your dog resolve whatever fear and anxiety issues they have. If you catch it early, it's going to be a lot easier to resolve the issues. So don't wait. If you start to see signs that your dog is fearful or anxious, nervous, anything like that, get help. Get the ball rolling in terms of resolving those issues before they become more serious. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned for a more in-depth look at how I apply some of the strategies with Jax and help him to get through some of his fear and anxiety issues. Till next time, if you love your dog, take them for a walk. Take care. Oh my God. I think my foot is asleep. Audio. Sorry, I'm getting frustrated. See, this is me being self-aware. Let's get this party started. Let's get it started. Right, come on, kids. Here we go. Ooh, yeah. Ow, 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 ow.